Good afternoon, everyone. It's Anita Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I would like to talk about another Sanskrit term that is also part of the tendencies or behaviors that contribute to virtuosity. So, this particular term is called Drithi. Drithi. And this word stands for fortitude or represents fortitude. Fortitude. So, do you know what fortitude is? Fortitude, and some people may have heard this word. I don't believe, at least in North America, we speak it regularly. It's not a word that is so commonly used in regular communication. But fortitude is the strength in pain or adversity. So it's a courage strength. It's courage of doing the right thing in adversity. And this is very interesting, right? So again, we're linking this with feminine energy qualities. And, in terms of that strength, don't we see there's a lot of people that, wow, she's so strong, right? And I'm saying we know that men have this energy too. A lot of times when we see strength through men, we might see it as aggressive. A fortitude is courage. And it's related to doing the right thing. So I thought I'd share a few quotations with you and help you remember that this is such an important space to work from. This first quotation is by John Locke, and this quotation says, "Fortitude is the guard and support of the other virtues." Fortitude is the guard and support of the other virtues. So imagine when someone is doing the right thing or saying the right thing or being the right way or, right meaning, let's say it's just a representative of goodness, right? In that sort of space of right, sometimes it takes courage to hold back from saying something unkind. Sometimes it takes courage, fortitude, to hold back from thinking something that would wish someone not good, right? So even though it might be well deserved, it takes a courage and a fortitude of character to make sure that there's nothing from my thoughts that is affecting another in a way that might not be helpful for them, or perhaps even wishes for their downfall, right? Even though it might actually be coming from, one could say, a justified sort of space, but it's not with compassion, right? So you can imagine that in good experience, good behavior, good thought, good words, we can think of fortitude. It's a courage that allows us to do things that, again, whether it requires thinking, speaking, or acting, and usually all those three come one after the other, right? It is the strength. So I came across another quote that I thought was quite good, and it's very simple. It says, "Fortitude is the capacity to say no when the world wants to hear yes." Fortitude is the capacity to say no when the world wants to hear yes. And that's from Erick Fromm. And this is an interesting thing, right? So when we think about, let's say there's a group of people doing something that's not good. So this could be, gang related behavior. It could be office related behavior, right? So something is not so good where someone is not liked in this group, where someone is affected not so well in this group. Someone is beat up, right? We know that these things can happen. Now, sometimes people are beat up with words that office mates are speaking. Sometimes they're beat up by the energy. I'm not going to speak with that person, me neither, right? So suddenly the entire group of people is communicating in a way that another person is feeling very isolated. And honestly, I believe that many people are doing this in an unconscious behavior pattern. And this is the interesting thing about, just because you can do something because it matches the crowd. And, kids learn this in childhood. They don't want to be not popular. And adults carry this into adulthood and do the same thing, right? I want to be accepted by the majority of people here, or this makes me look strong and I don't want to look weak like that other person. And we start acting in ways that are really not right, yet it takes fortitude to stand up against that, right? And these days, I'm hearing even these wonderful stories about, even in high schools, that there can be a small group of people that is really standing up against another group that, with compassion and kindness, just to support, I'll say, support, help have compassion for someone who's being pushed out somehow, right? So this is such a beautiful thing to see. Now, we also see the other side growing too, right? The people who feel like they can do things that are not right continue to do those. And until someone is brought to a space of awareness of their own thoughts, words, actions, many people stay in that unconscious space. So today, this is the space that I'd love for us to recognize in ourselves. Do we have fortitude to be able to say no when the world wants to hear yes, right? So not just this basic agreement, but to actually question, is this how I feel about this? Is this the right thing for me? Is this the right thing in this situation? It takes a little bit of discipline, right? So then I love this quotation by Helen Keller. And again, she was a strong female, right? But this quotation says, I, for one, love strength, daring, fortitude. I do not want people to kill the fight in them. I want them to fight for right things. And this is so important, right? Like to have the strength, the courage to fight for the things that are right, whether it's in our offices or whether it's in our homes, whether it's in the world experience, right? This to fight for the right things. And of course, there can be a kind way, but it's going to take a strength and a courage. That's fortitude, right? So this is what I would encourage you to think about. How are you in terms of your fortitude? Do you have that strength to say no when the world wants to hear yes? Or vice versa, right? To say yes to something the world says no, right? This is very interesting. You'll know that politically these things happen regularly, that there's something that's going on that's really not right, that by any clear thinking would seem like this should not be happening, right? And yet, if you get the groupthink, and what do we get groupthink from? We can get it from social media, we can get it from newspapers, we can get it from magazines, and we've become so familiar with the term false news, yet there's only a few people who really, really look deep into what is false news, right? And is this false news? Because if everyone is saying the same thing, it's got to be right, right? That's groupthink. And it's not the person who has fortitude and insight and clarity that is seeing the truth beyond what we might be being shown. So then I thought I would finish with one quotation, and I hope that it inspires you because I thought it was very, very well put. It's by Daniel Ellsberg, and here's what it says. It says, the courage we need is not the fortitude to be obedient in the service of an unjust war, to help conceal lies, to do our job for a boss who has usurped power and is acting as an outlaw government. It is the courage, at last, to face honestly the truth and reality of what we are doing in the world and act responsibly to change it. This is such a deep quote, right? So you know that it will be written at the bottom of this video, but if we were to think about this idea, and there's so many things that have been in my mind through contemplation, brought to my awareness through my contemplative time recently about the things that happen that are just not right, and how the reality of what we're doing in the world and our responsibility to change it. This does take courage to face this honestly, right? There are things that are happening that, well, you know what? This person has power, so this is why they can dictate what happens to everyone. Yet at the same time, what's happening to everyone from that space of power is crushing people down. And this can happen in so many different ways. It can happen financially. So people are in a position of power, and even the person that they're hiring to do most of the work for their company is getting very little pay. And you know, this has happened for centuries, right? But because this person is able to say, this is what you get, and someone might really need a job, the person says yes, yet it's not right. Right? So to imagine, how is that person going to say, no, I won't take this very minimal, meager salary or wage for what I'm doing because they actually need that, right? And yet the person in power is dictating that. And this happens, of course, in terms of government and what kind of resources are shared with countries. And then it also happens in terms of individual lives too, right? That unless we're actually honestly seeing what are we gaining from something, what are we trying to gain from something. We ourselves might be putting people into spaces of unease because of our desire for power. And unless we're looking within ourselves, we won't know this. This could be, I work in healthcare. It could be a healthcare professional who owns a clinic who gives everyone who works for them very little because they might say that's what I can afford, but likely it's just that's what everyone's paying receptionists, for example. So that's what you're getting. So you're getting what the going rate. But at the same time, I kind of might be a boss that knows that this person is pregnant right now. This receptionist is pregnant right now. A lot of bosses in this situation, which I see, and it's not only in healthcare, of course, it's in every field, will often already think about, okay, so this person is pregnant. And rather than thinking they're going to need a little bit of extra resources because they were just making it by when it was just them on their own, now they've got a child. And with this child, maybe I should give them a little bit more money. Well, a lot of people might give a little bit of a Christmas bonus. And then at the back of the mind, the boss is thinking, oh, I'm going to lose their work for a year because they're going to take mat leave. And now I have to pay them for that. And imagine this. Imagine the courage it takes to do the right thing, the fortitude of doing what is courageous in that time rather than working from that space of control and power, right? And this takes that compassion for another too, right? Today, I would love for you to think about where are you working from in terms of your own fortitude, your courage, your strength to say no in spaces where others want to hear yes. So you know that lady who might be pregnant, who needs to pay extra bills, is really concerned about losing her job. So you might even say, because she's going to be leaving, I'm going to get her to do a little bit more work in this time because I kind of need her. And then I have to pay her for the time she's gone too. So I'm going to do more. It's not right, right? Who has the courage to say no? It's not an easy space to be. And I suspect lots of different people have been in different situations like this. What I find very interesting is people in power realize the control that money can bring and often do it unjustly. And again, because someone needs something and you're going to push the boundaries because it's possible, but it's not right. So today, I hope that you'll think about that for 5 minutes and see where you might be kind of participating in this consciously or unconsciously. And if you can bring it to your conscious awareness, do you change your action? I hope you do. I wish you a fabulous day ahead, and I hope you remember transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.